Okay, great. Okay, welcome to the Monday, February 8th, 2021 meeting of the East Lampeter Township Board of Supervisors. My name is Corey Meyer, and I'm going to call the meeting to order. Please join me in the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hutch, I forgot about the announcement.
Yeah, he's gonna play it now.
Okay, the announcement will be played right now.
Hello and welcome to the East Lampeter Township public meeting.
All participants are now informed that this meeting is being recorded. Due to the COVID-19 virus and Governor Wolf's orders limiting indoor gatherings, in-person attendance for this meeting is being limited to a maximum of 25 people who will be observing social distancing. Additionally, based upon the order of the Secretary of Health regarding face coverings, all participants in the public meeting room are required to wear a face covering unless they fit into one of the order's exceptions. When speaking, while maintaining social distance, participants may remove their face covering. Therefore, this meeting is also being offered virtually utilizing Zoom, which is a cloud-based platform for remote video and audio conferencing. The Zoom application is free to the public. The general public is therefore able to join the meeting connection through the internet or by calling in by phone. The public is also able to observe the meeting on the Township YouTube channel. The Township is expecting to utilize this vehicle for all future public meetings during and after the COVID-19 crisis. Please continue to check the Township website calendar for any updates related to these public meetings. Agendas for these public meetings will also be available on the Township's website and will be posted on the front of the Township building. The Township will also be recording the meeting and making it available for viewing via the Township website and YouTube channel. While every effort will be made to ensure the live streaming and website are working, East Lampeter Township has no responsibility for and cannot be held liable for the unavailability of live streaming in part or in full due to technical issues beyond its control. Live streams and recordings of all means remain the property of East Lampeter Township, protected by copyright. Access to live streams and recordings of meetings is provided for personal and non-commercial use. Video, images, and audio must not be altered, produced, or republished with permission of East Lampeter Township. It is suggested that all participants on Zoom mute their microphone during the meeting until they wish to speak, make a motion, or vote. All votes will be taken roll call so that they can be properly recorded. In order to accommodate public comments at this meeting, the Township will be accepting public comments in writing via email. Instructions for the submission of public comments are available on the Township website. All those providing public comments will be required to provide their name and address in order for their comment to be read into the record. Inappropriate comments will not be read into the record. Please be reminded that this meeting is being video and audio recorded and will be posted to Township YouTube channel for viewing. The meeting will now proceed with the chairman calling the meeting to order and identifying all other members present in the meeting room and those joining the meeting via Zoom. The chairman will then confirm those members joining by Zoom can be heard.
Okay, thank you. In the room with me is Supervisor Dave Buckwalter. On the Zoom, we have Supervisor Glenn Eberly. Glenn, you can hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We have Supervisor Ethan Demi.
I can hear you.
You can hear me? Great. Awesome. And we have Vice Chair John Blowers. John, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Corey. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Great. Thank you so much. Okay. On to the next agenda item. We did have an executive session of the Board of Supervisors on February 1st, 2021 for a personnel matter. And next on the agenda, we'll have public comment for non-agenda items only. Is there anyone here for non-agenda items? Okay. No? Anyone either on Zoom or via email?
No.
Okay. Okay, we'll proceed to our consent agenda. We have item 4A, approval of the minutes of the Monday, January 18th, 2021 regular meeting. We have,
Hang on.
oh, sure.
Okay.
Yep,
It just went black for a second.
Okay.
so I was trying to-
we're good.
okay.
Okay, We have approval 4B, approval to pay invoices from all funds. It's a total of $371 or $371,259.71. Of those bills to be paid, $16,676.09 to Town Planning Partners for consulting services related to the Bridgeport Mobility Plan, $6,170 to EM Cuts for a new snowplow, and then $5,192 to the State Workers Insurance Fund for a quarterly contribution for volunteer fire coverage. We have 4C on the agenda. It's a full request for release of financial security for 338 Beachdale Road, and that's the Byler project. And then lastly, we have a request for reduction of financial security for 1625 Old Philadelphia Pike, which is the campus shops, and that will leave a current, it'll be reduced by $211,645.50. So it'll leave a balance of $52,606.50. And that is our consent agenda. Gentlemen, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move for approval of our consent agenda.
Okay, we have a motion made,
Second.
second by Mr. Demi. Any other comment from the board on the consent agenda? Any comments from the public for the consent agenda? Okay, we'll have a roll call vote. I'll start with Glenn,
Aye.
Ethan,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
and chair's aye. Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda, we have 5, presentation regarding the Walnut Street extension and Greater Lancaster Heritage Pathway. I believe Tony's on the, Tony Seitz from High is on, plus a few others. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining. I know we've been talking about this project probably every single meeting for at least over a year. So looking forward to an update, looking forward to, I know we offered this out and reminded the public about this meeting in particular through a few different channels. So interested in hearing an update about the project, and then also interested in hearing questions and comments from our neighbors. So I'm going to pass it off to Tony, and then you can lead us from there. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Chairman. Appreciate that. And we also want to thank you for giving us the opportunity to present tonight, not only to the board, but our neighbors in East Lampeter Township. We're excited to present the progress that we've made on the project. And I echo your comments. It's been a long time and a work in progress. We've been working with you, I believe, for the better part of 3 years on bringing this project to fruition. And there has been a lot of progress made. And we're going to preview a good bit of that progress tonight, and we're happy to do that. And I would just like to say at the outset, I don't think there's any doubt in my mind or in my colleagues' mind who've worked on this project that we would not have made this progress, but for the spirit of cooperation and partnership that all the stakeholders have made on this project. That includes East Lampeter Township, Lancaster County, the city of Lancaster, and of course, High, and our state partner at PennDOT. Again, my name is Tony Seitz from High Associates. I have representatives of the design team with me tonight, and we'll present the different features of the project. As I mentioned since our last meeting, and really every month, we continue to make a lot of progress on the design of the project, a lot more detail on the project components. You can think of the project as 5 components that all work together. We're going to present those tonight for you, but we've got a lot more detail on the state road section from the Route 30 interchange to the proposed roundabout. We've got more detail on component number 2. I'll call the bridge over Mill Cross Road. Number 3, the roundabout itself. Number 4, Ben Franklin Boulevard, which is a new section of Township Road that will be dedicated to East Lampeter Township between the roundabout and Greenfield Road. And then, of course, and certainly not least, the Greater Lancaster Heritage Path, the multi-jurisdictional trail that will run to the east of the project. So if you look at it as those 5 components, a lot of progress has been made on each, and we'll try to highlight that for you in the time we have this evening. While I've mentioned a couple times the progress that's been made, I think it's also important to mention tonight, as we did when we met a year ago, that the design and the intent and the purpose of the project really has not changed. It's still a 1.1 mile section of road, most of it within PennDOT right of way. It still makes a 90-degree turn at the roundabout to connect to Greenfield Road through Ben Franklin Boulevard. That has not changed. And most importantly, there is still no intent, no proposal, no desire, no design to go any further to the north beyond the roundabout. So all of those items have been consistent with what we shared a year ago in a public meeting, and what we shared in other meetings in the interim, and what we've been working on in all this time with the township and the other public stakeholders. Our agenda tonight is pretty simple. We just want to preview in more detail the 5 components that I mentioned, and then in the time that we have, answer your questions. So in the interest of time, and I know our time is limited, I'm going to turn to Eric Mounts at TPD, at Traffic Planning and Design. He's going to start to walk you through the 5 components that I mentioned, and present that design in more detail, and then we can have the Q&A session. So Eric, I'll turn to you now.
Thanks, Tony. Good evening, all. Before I get started, gentlemen, I'll ask, do I have the ability to screen share to share the plans with you?
Should have it very shortly.
All right, thank you.
Should have it, right?
Should be good now.
Yes.
Yep. It's coming up. Yep, we can see it.
All right, perfect. Well, again, we appreciate the time this evening. As Tony said, my name is Eric Mounts with Traffic Planning Design. Joining me this evening from my office is also Don Jacobs, who will be handling the second part of our presentation this evening. As Tony said, we appreciate the time to provide a brief update on where the project currently stands. Referring to the concept plan that's being shared, the project design involves an extension of Walnut Street from its interchange with Route 30 that will head northeastward into East Lampeter Township for a linear distance of approximately 5,000 feet, up to and including a roundabout at its northern terminus. This section of roadway will be a state-owned roadway. As Tony mentioned, the project also includes the design of Ben Franklin Boulevard, which will run a linear distance of approximately 1,000 feet and will connect the Walnut Street to Greenfield Road. This section of roadway is envisioned to be a township roadway. The project design also includes a segment of the Greater Lancaster Heritage Pathway Trail, which will run parallel to the Walnut Street extension. It will connect Oak Grove Drive at the southern end of the project and will terminate at a trail parking lot on the northern end of the project. The design is consistent with the Lancaster Active Transportation Plan, which envisions the trail running from the city of Lancaster to Leola, with the trail north of Route 30 utilizing the existing state right-of-way. The project design includes a bridge carrying the Walnut Street extension and Greater Lancaster Heritage Pathway Trail over Millcross Road and an unnamed tributary to the Stauffer Run. Stauffer Run crosses under the Walnut Street extension alignment just north of the proposed bridge, running through an existing 19-foot wide by 13-foot high arch culvert. The project design includes signalization at 3 locations the intersection of Walnut Street with each of the Route 30 ramps, as well as the intersection of Greenfield Road and Ben Franklin Boulevard. The project design is being advanced through PennDOT's Highway Occupancy Permit Design and Review process. A few updates related to that. Per PennDOT's letter dated August 27th, 2020, the transportation study for the project has been approved by all stakeholders. East Lampeter Township is being notified whenever an HOP submission is made, and plans are being provided upon request. The city of Lancaster and Lancaster County received similar notifications. With respect to the bridge that will carry the Walnut Street extension and Greater Lancaster Heritage Pathway over Millcross Road and the unnamed tributary to Stauffer Run, the design team is continuing to coordinate with the township and PennDOT regarding the type of bridge. Since our last meeting with the board, we have a few updates. It has been confirmed that PennDOT will own and maintain this bridge as part of owning and maintaining the Walnut Street extension. It's also been determined that a two-span bridge is preferable in terms of constructability and aesthetics. Relative to a single-span crossing over both Millcross Road and the tributary, the two-span option introduces a central support pier between the bridge abutments. This pier will be located between Millcross Road and the tributary, and by providing the central support, the horizontal support beams for the two-span bridge can be about half the depth of the beams for a single-span alternative. From the perspective of someone on Millcross Road, the two-span steel alternative provides a similar bridge profile and a bridge appearance more in harmony with the context of the area. I'm going to transition to a rendering of the bridge from an orientation perspective, Walnut Street extension, the two-span bridge over Millcross Road. This is what we envision that the bridge will look like. As again, I mentioned, a two-span steel girder bridge with painted girders and haunching of the girders at the central pier. Important to note is that this look can only be achieved with the steel girders. The goal of this project is to complete the design and related permitting by the end of this year, which will then allow for the project to go to construction in early 2022. With that, I am going to now hand the presentation over to Don Jacobs from my office to provide some background on the noise aspect of the project.
Okay, thank you, Eric. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
And just, I think Eric pretty much covered the components that Tony was talking about. I wanted to focus in on the noise aspect, which is one of the categories that needs to be studied as part of PennDOT's environmental clearance for this project. So PennDOT is taking an active role in the review of the noise aspect. TPD has prepared the noise model. We're utilizing the Federal Highways Traffic Noise Model software, which is what PennDOT uses for all their projects. PennDOT's currently reviewing the model information that we have provided in terms of assumptions and methodology. Once the methodology of the model is approved, we can run the model to determine the noise impacts of the project. And that's where we're at right now with the noise impacts of the project as a whole. There are a couple things that were brought forward in an earlier meeting with the township, specific areas where noise impacts were a concern, and one of those was at the bridge itself. And what's been done there is that the bridge has been designed in order to minimize noise impacts. And by that, I mean, at the ends of the bridge where you can get differential settlements if the bridge is of an older design. This one employs approach slabs, which prevent settling at the ends of the bridge, prevent a height differential of the pavement of the road versus the concrete deck of the bridge. And therefore it minimizes any type of noise in the transition of a car entering onto the bridge or exiting off of the bridge at the other end. The other aspect of noise that was discussed previously is a temporary impact, which is blasting during construction. There is excavation required on this project. There is a possibility of blasting. That's really at the discretion of the contractor if they can show that excavating the rock by excavator or ripping of the rock is not working, then blasting is an option. It's should blasting be proposed by the contractor, it's very much regulated. All construction for this project is subject to the requirements of PennDOT Publication 408, which has an entire section devoted to blasting for rock cut slope excavation. This publication in turn references OSHA standards, Pennsylvania code standards, and local requirements. So it requires blasting by a licensed operator and blasting as would be done for any PennDOT project throughout the state. So there's the highest scrutiny and regulations in place as such operations may be needed. So that really, Tony, unless you have more comments, that was really what we had planned for something to present, and could move to Q&A.
I think that was pretty much the extent of what we wanted to present this evening. And we're happy to turn to the board and to others for questions.
Sure. Thank you, Tony. Any questions from the board first, and then I'll open it up to the public.
Corey, could we have Eric, while he's sharing his screen, show us a cross section? I believe last time we looked, there was a cross section that may have been showing the approaches to the bridge, dealing with some of the noise issues. I think there were some public comments or public questions about that last time. That's all we'd have for you.
Sure. Yeah, sure. Do you gentlemen have that, or can you talk to that more maybe?
Yeah, if you could zoom in a little bit on the bridge, Eric. Okay, so at the two ends, and this is conceptual, but I think we can speak to it. The bridge itself has a concrete deck. The road on either side is going to be bituminous pavement. And what we're designing to assure against is that there's not a settlement of the bituminous pavement relative to the deck, which then creates a bump or a vertical displacement of the two roads, which can create a bumping noise for people in the vicinity. So that's where the approach slabs are designed to prevent that differential settlement and provide a smooth transition from the bituminous pavement onto the concrete bridge, and then from the concrete bridge back onto the bituminous pavement at the other end.
Okay. John, further questions on that?
Corey, the image that Don and Eric were showing of the rendering, the potential rendering of the profile, if we could just look at that again as well too, just so the public can see this. Once again, I know it's conceptual at this point, but great effort, by the way, Tony. I just love the way it's coming out. So thank you for all the effort your team's putting into this. If you've lived in this area for about 50 years, the two ends of this have been there in place for 50 years almost, So, we're talking about connecting something that's two higher peaked areas. Let's call that for the general public's attention. Those have been there. We're talking about putting a bridge that connects this now at this point. So the concept is well presented, Tony. So thank you. I'm assuming, Tony, that there is no, from all that we've looked at, there's no public access up to the proposed heritage pathway from Millcross, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So maintaining safety concerns and so forth, pushing people to the trailheads.
Absolutely.
Okay, good. Okay, good. That was it, Corey. That's all I had.
Okay. Thank you, John. Dave, did you?
Maybe just a comment. While this rendering is on the screen, for the neighbors that may be joining us by Zoom, I don't know if you can see it very well, but this rendering does show a form liner type finish on the abutments and the piers. And what that is they use a form liner when they pour these structures, and then they in turn color it and actually grout in the thing. It really looks like stone, and I think the aesthetics may be lost in the picture if you don't realize what they're doing there. So I just wanted to point that out. I guess I have a question too about schedule. Do you have any general idea of how long this will be? Are we looking at, I don't know, you may have mentioned it, construction, when would you expect that to begin?
We expect to be through the design process in the, I would hope either late fourth quarter or early first quarter of 2022. So we are making a valiant effort to get through that by the end of the year. There are some critical path items that may take us past the start of the year. And then we would be in the advertising and bid process with the construction start in the spring of 2022. And Don, correct me or Eric if I'm speaking out of turn, but we estimate a 15 to 18 month construction duration.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks. Ethan, any questions from you before I turn it off or turn it over to the public?
Yeah, one question. You had mentioned that you were in the process of doing a sound study, which would be submitted to PennDOT. Is there either a link that once that's available that the public could view, or is there a way that we could get a copy to post on our website?
Yeah, once the results are something that we would consider final, we can submit a copy to the township, which then I assume would be available to the public.
That would be great. Thanks.
You know,
We can. Yep. Sorry.
If I could,
Tony, go.
for just a minute, I would like to echo some of the comments, and they're deeply appreciated on the work that's gone into this bridge design. This is not what PennDOT would typically build for a bridge for this type and scale of road. A steel spanned bridge like this with the concrete treatments on it is not typical. We pushed hard because we know aesthetics are important. We know they're important for the board. We know they're important for residents of the township, and for that matter, they're important to High to do something special here. So what you're seeing is really the fruit of that, and I'm not trying to pat the teams on the back any more than the recognition you've already given us, but we did push hard to deliver this design for you and do something that's above the norm.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to open up questions from the public. We do have a few members of the public in the room here now, probably for other items, but you're open to ask questions about this project if you have any questions. Okay, we have one person. If you just state your name and your address. Thank you.
Russell Pugh, I live at 11 Fox Hollow
Drive. I don't know if the question is really for site or for board, but I'm just going to lay it out there.
Sure.
Oh, Corey, it's almost impossible to hear.
Yeah. Russ, could you just almost, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, just have
Can you
to
hear me
get close to it.
now?
John, can you hear now? Russ, go again.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, that's better.
Yes.
That's
Okay,
better.
we'll try
Thank
that.
you. Just speak louder. Sorry.
Okay. What's the status of the trail development? And is that going to be developed by High, or is that going to be built by a different entity?
So as it currently stands, the trail section shown on this plan, which again on the southern end would connect to Oak Grove Drive, continue on the eastern side of the extension up to Ben Franklin Boulevard and terminating at a trailhead. This section of the trail is currently being designed in conjunction with the design for the roadway proper. All of the grading associated with the trail is intended to be constructed in conjunction with construction of the roadway, and the actual physical construction of the trail would be a joint effort between the local municipalities involving East Lampeter Township at some point in the future, with obviously the township taking an active interest in advancing that project as quickly as possible.
Now, what about the section of the trail that is north of the roundabout?
That would be obviously there is the Lancaster Active Transportation Plan that was completed that does contemplate utilizing the state right of way for an extension of that trail. But this project, as defined, only includes the section of the trail depicted on this plan.
Now, how can we be assured that the trail beyond the roundabout will ever be built?
So at this point, there is no assurance. There is obviously the collective plan, that active transportation plan with the long-term goal being to implement that. But at this point, as I said, it's not connected to this project. The funding does not cover that section. But like I said, there obviously is a long-term goal for that future connectivity.
Now, another question I have is there a preservation component to this plan that would prevent the road from being extended beyond the roundabout, or that the PennDOT right-of-way would be secured in such a way that a road could not be built on it? Right, conservation easement, or the PennDOT leasing it back, or a give back of the right-of-way?
So at this point, obviously, this question has been asked multiple times from the very beginning of the project. As it currently stands, as Tony described in his introduction, this project is not in any shape or form proposing to extend the roadway further to the north. But with that said, obviously, PennDOT is not in a position to actually terminate their existing right-of-way to the north at this point. As I'm sure many of you are aware, there are active bridges that were constructed many years ago within PennDOT's right-of-way that they own, that they need to maintain the right-of-way for at this point. But this project, as you can see, has done everything in its power to basically limit this roadway to the roundabout. The trailhead with the parking lot is being provided on that northern side of the roundabout in an effort to preclude any future extension of the roadway. So to your question directly, no, there is no intention of PennDOT at this time to definitively vacate the right-of-way because of the ownership of the bridges, but there is no intention of any of the stakeholders at this point to extend this roadway to the north.
But currently, as planned, there's no legal prohibition of extending the road.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pugh. Anyone else in the room have questions?
Corey, Mike
Okay.
Doman, I think Mike Doman is in the room. If Mike Doman could perhaps comment on any of those questions?
Can you hear me? Not sure.
Yep, we can hear you, Mike.
Oh, great. Yes. Well, I have to concur with Eric and what he had said. I think also, Tony has mentioned this in the past. There are no plans at the county level. There's no funding available. There's no entry in the county tip by the MPO. The window for extending this trail is closed at this point in time for the foreseeable future. And right now, there's no support for extending this road beyond where it is planned right now.
Okay, thank you. Are there others on the Zoom that have questions? I guess probably the best way is to raise their hand. Hutch, you'll be able to see if they raise their hand, I'm assuming. I can't.
I have a question.
Okay, yep, sure. Can you just state your name and your address, please?
Sure, I'm Dave Stauffer. I live out on Stumptown Road. I'm the president of the Bicycle Club. So I'm just curious to give our members an update. Who would be the party to comment on the trail extending beyond to the north? Obviously it's not part of this plan, but if we wanted to get an update on that part of it, do we go back to the active transportation plan parties or?
Yeah, Mike. Yeah, Mike, can you go off mute and maybe comment on that?
Well, at this point in time, there's only a small section left in East Lampeter Township before you get to the border of Upper Laycock Township. Right now, we have a work group formed of all the municipalities and the partners working on this project. We met for the first time about 2 weeks ago, but that is everything from East Lampeter west through the city of Lancaster into Lancaster Township and East Hempfield Township, all the way over to Good Drive, where the trail would end at Farmingdale Trail, Noldor Ward Park. So there's been no activity right now heading east from here. Upper Laycock Township at this point has elected to not participate on the committee. So I don't know what to say at this point in time. They're expressing no interest in owning or maintaining the trail. So that is a question to be dealt with in the future.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Corey, if I could jump in real quick.
Yeah, sure.
Great question, Dave. We have, like was said, all the partners have been engaged. The Lancaster Intermunicipal Committee is actively working with us on getting this trail done. I would say it would probably be beneficial if maybe a few members of your club that live in Upper Laycock could attend a supervisors meeting there and ask them what their plans are. If we can get them on board with participating, the more folks that are engaged in this project, the more grant money is available to be able to do the construction of the trail. So the more partners we have, the more grant money is available and the faster the trail can get completed. So that's something that your folks can do, and that would be very beneficial. This would be a great connector for any bicyclist who wants to make a nice route through farmland and also bypass Route 23.
Thanks,
Okay,
Nathan.
I'll spread the word on that. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Other members of the public that have questions or comments?
Can you see my hand?
Yeah, and now we can. Yeah, sorry, you weren't on our screen, but if you just state your name and your address, you can ask a question or comment. Thank you.
I am Denise Zabala. My address is 506 Oak Grove Drive. Therefore, you probably know what the nature of my question might be. I see that you are making the parking area for, I would assume, for people to kind of park their cars and start on the trail or connect with the trail. But there is also a way for people to enter through our street and get on the trail right now. I don't know about parking cars, but definitely foot traffic. That gives me a bit of pause because it is a very private, untraveled street of what the impact would be with the trail technically right now starting and ending on our street, at the end of our street.
And so I will say that as you mentioned, we're talking, as we mentioned, this is about a 5,000 foot, or let's just say a mile extension here of the Walnut Street Extension Project and associated trail. So what is envisioned and what is desired is obviously for users to utilize the trailhead and parking and extend to the south. Looking at the Greater Lancaster Heritage Pathway and the active transportation plan is described, the intent is for the trail in the interim to utilize Oak Grove Drive to Pitney, and then cross to the south through the park and the Waterworks property to continue. So the hope would be that users would, as I said, utilize the trailhead as opposed to, in the interim condition, utilizing Oak Grove Drive for this relatively short distance. So as I said, I understand the concern. We're trying to promote utilizing the trailhead while following the recommendations of the active transportation plan.
But as of now, because the thought is for them to connect down at the waterworks, they will have to use our street until further, the trail is furthered.
Correct. And the interim condition is to utilize the Waterworks property to Pitney Road through the park and Oak Grove Drive, with the long-term goal of the active transportation plan providing an on-road trail that's separated from Walnut Street, but it would continue down Walnut Street into the city, is the long-term goal of the active transportation plan, that in order to avoid people having to be on Pitney Road and Oak Grove Drive.
What is the proposed or desired time period for that to be completed?
So I will defer, Mike Doman, if you have any additional feedback on this, but the expectation at this point is very similar to what we described for the northern section of the continuation of the trail. I'll give you a very similar answer for the southern section, is that obviously it is a desire to advance that, but as it currently stands, there is not funding in place to do that long-term piece of the trail.
Except, Eric, I just, first of all, let me just say, we're very sensitive to what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. And the only trailhead that is designed right now, and clearly we're still in design, so things can change, but the trailhead that's designed now is the one you see to the north. Per the active transportation plan, during that interim condition, there was always the possibility of another, and the space is a lot more constrained there as well. So you're dealing with different constraints. With the potential for another, perhaps more limited trailhead at the southern entrance off of Oak Grove. What I did want to say are two things. One, this is, I think Eric presented this very, very well, but I would say that the preparation for the ultimate connection through the interchange area is more than lip service on this plan, because we've graded that area to accommodate the ultimate trail that you see kind of in the hatched section connecting through the interchange. Eric, if you can take your cursor over that. Yeah, and yeah, so he's showing, so this has actually been engineered. You see the interim condition, but then you see the long-term goal or condition that the active transportation plan proposes. That's being engineered to the point where we've graded for that future connection. Also, Eric, you might want to mention, we did make changes within the interchange area to the design to accommodate that long-term condition. So it's not as far out, I'll say, or preliminary as to the north of the roundabout. There's some real concrete planning for what's going to happen in this area to accommodate that future connection.
Yeah, thanks, Tony. I would agree. I would just add, as Tony noted, to the extent feasible through this project, we have designed the project to not preclude the long-term trail, separated trail along Walnut Street with this project. So this, I'll say, teal color is the area that we envision will be available for the trail. We have worked with the city of Lancaster to remove the channelization island as you come north on Walnut Street to head east on 30 in order to shorten up crossing distances in the future for your on-road non-motorized users, pedestrians, bicyclists in this area. So we have been working to accommodate that long-term goal through this area and not preclude any of that project in the future with what is being proposed in conjunction with the Walnut Street Extension project.
And the second point that I would make is all of what Eric has shown you on the plans this evening with respect to the trail is included in the design. Clearly we've talked about, but the permitting for the project. So the trail and the road project will be permitted concurrently, simultaneously, and be ready for construction concurrently. And the goal, every goal is that they would occur at the same time. Clearly, this part here through the interchange is a later phase when the funding is available to do that. But what you saw in the previous concept plan will be permitted at the same time. Yeah, everything that you see here will be permitted concurrently.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Denise. Okay, are there others on the Zoom that have questions? And I can't actually see you, so you might just take yourself off mute and then we'll address you. Okay. And can you see any? No. Any other questions come in through public comments or? Okay. Okay, any other comments from Hi and team? Nope, hold on.
There's a question on the chat.
Okay.
Where
I can't see.
Where are the evergreen screening going to be?
Tony, can you or someone from your team take that question?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, on the chat box, a question came in asking, where are the evergreen screening going to be? I think that's a
Landscaping.
landscaping question.
Eric, you want to field that?
And Don, if I could defer to you, if
Okay.
you could speak to that.
Yeah, that's fine. I think the answer is we haven't gotten to that level of detail in the design yet. So that I'm not aware of any locations where evergreen screening has specifically been requested, but and what the purpose would be. But if there are such requests, that would be part of the reason for this public outreach, is to get those kind of comments. So at this point, we've focused more on grading and separating the road from, especially in the southern end, through a combination of excavation and mounding up dirt, providing some good separation of the road from residential properties, but nothing on the Well, and one aspect that's been stressed to us on the screening is that as the trail is going to wind its way amongst some stormwater management features, that there is a sensitivity to providing some buffering or screening between the trail users and the stormwater management features, because we don't want the users wandering into the stormwater management areas. And there will be an education, there's been discussion of perhaps making that a educational component as well, since the trail users are in such close proximity to these environmentally productive or sensitive measures, that there be some sort of education to the public about how stormwater is being managed and the benefits to everyone of doing that.
Any other comments or questions from the room, the public, or the board, or hi and team? Okay. Thank you all for attending. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you for the questions. I'm sure we'll continue to talk about this in future board meetings as well as the project progresses, but I appreciate taking the time to present it in an informal fashion or formal fashion, frankly. So thanks again, and we'll move on to the next agenda item.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda, we have 6A, which is the Devon Creek Phase 2 Land Development Plan 1530. Oh, sure.
Everything went black here.
Okay.
I don't know what happened.
Oh, looks like just a bunch of people are leaving. We'll pause for a second. What do you see, Black? I wonder if if there's a loose cord or something. Just hold on 1 second for those online. Looks like it's stretched a little bit. Oh, yeah, it went out on the screen now. It came back. Yeah, it went out for a second.
I'll tell you what, there's a Ethernet that's not connected.
Oh, okay. Back. Power's on. Oh, that screen just went out. No, it went back on.
This one looks like it's
Trying to come back.
trying. Okay, now
Yeah, okay. We're back.
I don't know why.
That's
Well, I tell
fine.
you what, it's right down here at my feet. I hope I didn't pick something.
I don't know, maybe. Okay, next on the agenda, we have 6A, Devon Creek Phase 2 Land Development Plan 1538, request to reinstate conditional plan approval and provide a time extension to record the plan. How should you just give us some background on this one?
Sure. I think Dave Bittner, the consulting engineer, is on with us.
Okay.
Dave?
Yeah, we can go to Dave.
Yep. Bill Briegel's on as well from Keystone. So yeah, I guess we were before you back in November to get the conditional approval on the plan. Since then, a letter was sent out which required a letter to be sent back from the applicant within 30 days, essentially accepting the conditions. That was not provided. So essentially we're back requesting it to be reinstated. Since then, we have received another round of comments from David Miller Associates, which we're currently working through. And then along with that, we're asking for an additional time extension to meet those conditions as we work through those.
Okay. Okay, so I see a 93-day extension of time.
Correct.
As the extension. Okay.
Question,
Yep,
was that
sure.
from our February 1st originally scheduled meeting or tonight?
That was
January
it was actually from
27th.
the original date. So it was February 14th was the deadline from the original approval.
Okay.
So 93 days from February 14th, 2021.
Correct.
Okay.
Got it. Okay. Understood. Okay, I'll accept a motion, then we can also ask more questions at that time.
I'll make a motion that we accept the extension. Well, actually, we're accepting, reinstating.
Yeah, you'd be reinstating the conditional approval of the plan
Yeah.
and then
Providing time
working on the
extension.
time extension.
Yeah. You want that as one motion or should
It
that
can be one.
Oh, we can make it one. Then I would make a motion that we do reinstate the acceptance of the plan and grant the 90-day extension of time to record.
93 day.
93, I'm sorry.
That's all right. Okay, we have a
Apologize.
motion
And
made.
I'll second it, Corey, but what is the date then?
93 days plus February 14th, 2021. So 93 days from February 14th, 2021.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that pushes it out to May 18th.
May
Okay.
18th. Okay.
Thank you, Dave.
I'll second your motion, Dave.
Okay. Motion made and second. Any other comments from the board or questions? Okay, any questions or comments from the public or the applicant? Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. Glenn?
Aye.
Ethan?
No.
No. John?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
And chair's aye. So it's 4-1, motion passes.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great evening.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Okay, we have 6B, McDonald's Land Development Plan 2018, Lincoln Highway East, East Town Center. Someone here for this item?
Yes, this is Ambrose Hines. I'm the attorney for the applicant McDonald's. Also on the line, we have Mike Geithner from Bowler Engineering and Rich Alt, who's representing the operator. So, Mike, if you want to take the lead, can Mike be given the
Sure.
ability to share screen?
Yep. Give us a minute. Okay, you should have it now.
One second.
Okay.
All right, hopefully everybody can see that.
Into your screen.
Good. Ambrose, you want to go through with the general feedback? You want me to take lead?
Yeah, Mike, why don't you go through, just explain what the nature of the project is and what we're doing here.
Yeah, so I'll be brief with the board here. This plan has been before the Planning Commission. This is simply a drive-through upgrade to the existing McDonald's restaurant located at 2090 Lincoln Highway East. This plan simply on the non-drive-through side of the building is to upgrade the drive-through to a side-by-side drive-through configuration. And in doing so, we'll be losing 5 parking spaces on that side of the building. The plan and overall shopping center would still comply with parking. So although we're losing parking, we're still in compliance with the ordinance. And as you would imagine, McDonald's drive-through sales is much higher than their sit-down sales. So in regards to the number of parking spaces they need, even with the loss of the 5, this is still adequate for McDonald's. And the drive-through sales are, in a non-pandemic scenario, is upwards of 70% of their business. In a pandemic that we're in, it's upwards of 90% plus. So the side-by-side drive-through on the plan that you see in front of you is simply to create 2 lanes with an island in the middle and associated menu boards, and then merge back into 1 single lane behind the McDonald's, and then go to the traditional, from there, go to the traditional pay window and then pick up. That is really the extent of the improvements. We have a handful of waivers we're asking for, and I believe we have a discussion item in regards to the sidewalk and path requirements associated with South Oakview Road. So Ambrose, I'll kind of hand it back over to you.
Sure. Just one additional point with respect to the drive-through. We did have zoning hearing board regarding having this side-by-side drive-through, I'm sorry, and that was approved by the zoning hearing board. So with respect to zoning, we're all clear on that. We have recommendation for conditional approval subject to engineering comments from the Planning Commission. The most recent comment letter, and if we can find that, the most recent comment letter from David Miller addressed, it's basically a clean letter, and then it addresses our request for waivers. So let me just pull that up. So the first requested waiver just relates to the having a subdivision plan of not more than 10 lots fronting on an existing street, that to waive the preliminary plan application requirement. That's under section 303A. The second requested waiver is relating to the plan scale, to have a scale of 50 feet or 100 feet to the inch. The requested modification here, Mike, can you verify the scales?
Yes, the scale of the plan is 1 inch equals 20 feet. The ordinance requires a scale of 1 inch equals 50 or 1 inch equals 100. Due to the size of the project, we feel the scale is appropriate for the improvements noted on the site plan.
Yeah. And that would be section 403B. Let's just move down to the fourth requested waiver on this is with respect to the sidewalk along the west side of the building. If you can see that there's a pinch point where the sidewalk narrows down to about 4.9 feet. And that's really related to this overhang of the building. And there was a comment from David Miller that when it's adjacent to a parking field, a sidewalk needs to be 6 feet. And so we're requesting a waiver just in that area to allow for a sidewalk that pinches down to approximately 4.9 feet at that location, and then 5.3 to 5.9 further down along that drive-through. You know, the reality is that this sidewalk is really existing. There's really no way to make it 6 feet in that location. That's why that waiver is being requested there. And then the last waiver just related to improvement of existing adjacent streets. And really the genesis of the waiver was related to along Route 30. We just wanted to make sure, as this is all located in the southern, southwestern corner of the site, we really weren't touching anything along Route 30 with this project. And we, in order to avoid any confusion, requested this waiver with respect to the Route 30 right-of-way and the improvements along Route 30. the comment that we got back on the most recent David Miller letter was that they recommended approval of the waiver with respect to what we were asking for, which is really the Route 30, but they made a comment about the streetscape improvements and particularly the width of the path along South Oakview Road. The comment letter doesn't really reference a section of the ordinance that isn't compliant, and we did go back and look at this. The current condition has South Oakview Road, the cartway width and cartway meet the requirements for that road classification, and there is an existing sidewalk along the entire frontage within the right-of-way. Mike, if you could, how wide is that sidewalk in its existing condition?
You referring to South Oakview Road?
Yes.
All right, so what we have between the curb line of South Oakview Road and then the right-of-way is we have about a little bit less than 12 feet, 11.6 to be exact. The sidewalk within this location is about 5 feet wide, and then we have a little over 5 feet from the edge of the sidewalk to the curb line. And then inside the right-of-way, there is landscaping and lighting that's existing throughout that area, about 4 to 5 trees located within that stretch inside the site.
And Mike, did you have a ground level view of that?
Let me see if I do. I'm not exactly sure if I do or not.
I think you had that in your packet.
No, that's not it.
Well,
I have an aerial view that I can share with the board.
yeah, if you want to share the aerial view, that might help.
So the area in question that we're referring to is along, and I apologize for the quality of the aerial here, but it's along Oakview, South Oakview. There's existing sidewalk, there's existing landscaping between the sidewalk and the curb line. The actual right-of-way of the property is just on the inside of that sidewalk, and you can see there's some landscaping within that area.
And there are existing trees in that area. The comment that we got from David Miller referenced the streetscape plan, and we asked for some clarification on that, and the response back to the request for clarification on exactly what the township would be looking for that in that area is that they were looking for a 12-foot wide multi-use path. The issue, of course, is that in order to put a 12-foot wide multi-use path, you'd basically be eliminating that grass strip between Oakview Road and the sidewalk, potentially ripping out the existing sidewalk to put that path in, and then, if it were to go, even with that, I think you'd still need some additional take from the site. Which will cause all sorts of issues with respect to impervious coverage. This site is existing. I think it's already, Mike, if you want to go back to the plan, we do have it listed what the impervious coverages are. But it's already significantly higher than what would be allowed if we were to rip that out and put more pavement down in order to do that multi-use path on site. It's going to eat further into that impervious coverage. So if you move over to the right side,
we are non-conforming today, just for the board reference requirement within the zoning district 70%. We're at 77.1. None of the improvements that we're doing with excuse me, with the drive-through is resulting in any new impervious. It's kind of a net wash in regards to green area being added and some pavement being added. So anything that occurs from the right-of-way line in would necessitate an upgrade or requirement to go to the zoning hearing board for additional impervious coverage.
And you'll see if you see there's that one tree that's pretty close to the property line on the eastern side of the property. If you're widening to any significant degree of that path in there, that tree is going to have to come out. So that was part of this request. We're looking for a waiver as to both of those improvements along both Route 30 and South Oakview Road. And that really was the only, I mean, the other comments obviously are will complies. So we're ready to move forward with an approval. And we're looking for the board to act on the waivers tonight and grant the approval on the plan.
To add to that, I see that the Township Planning Commission also included provision of a bike rack somewhere on the property. Is that in the current design, the bike rack?
It's not shown on there. I don't think that there's an issue with revising that to place one. And in fact, we probably would put Mike, when we had this discussion, there was a discussion about putting that near where that existing walking path is. And certainly, I don't think there's an issue with adding something like that. But
I apologize for the board here. We have added that to the plan. It is noted in the top right-hand corner on the.
My apologies. It is there. Sorry.
So we have addressed that. That's why it does not show up in the new review letter. That comment's been addressed.
Got it. Thank you. Okay. But yeah, let's have a discussion about the walkway. I'd love to hear board's thoughts on that, staff's thoughts on that. I believe this pathway is on our official map. Is that true?
It is, yes.
And of course, the Route 30 streetscape plan, private owners across the 1.x miles, 2 miles of land. I mean, they've been making improvements, at least on the Lincoln Highway side of thing. When improvements, Dutch Wonderland, great example, Tanger, and many others across Lincoln Highway. So this conversation on the Oakview Road side. So just so I understand, the current pathway that we talk about is a 12-foot wide bike ped trail with 5 feet of grass between the curb and the trail. And the current curb or the current sidewalk, you said, is 5 feet. Is that correct?
That's correct. You have a 5-foot sidewalk and then you have a 5-foot grass area.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's between the right of way and the street curb.
Yep. Yeah. So, our screen went out. Hold on. Oh, it's back, at least on our side. I don't know, Hutch, can you see? You can't see it. Okay.
Are you? I'm dark.
Okay. Give us a second. I mean, it's not like you're doing anything. Well, I guess if you have to, it went out on there. Okay, now it's back. No. You can't control the speakers and the. Something's happening on the screen now. Yeah, it's like a cord that's loose or something.
Ethernet to HDMI.
Yeah, it might just be. You think you're causing it? Okay.
I mean, I didn't.
Yeah.
Barely touched it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think it's on Dave's side. As the host, and then yeah, just give us a few more minutes. We're messing around with the technology.
Yo, ever heard of jerkman?
We're still working on the technology here, so just give us a few more minutes.
Would it assist if I stop sharing screen?
No, we lost. No, that's we lost access to the monitor that then Ralph drives the meeting from. So we're good on our. Nothing that you're doing is impacting it. It's some sort of loose wire that's causing the system to go in and out for us here. If you use your mouse, can you just turn around and do it from that side and just look at it from on the screen? Maybe just come around on this side. There you go. Just grab the keyboard and. Yeah, that's all good. My mask broke, of course. Okay, we're going to get started in just a second. Okay, good. Okay. Okay. So board, we're talking about the sidewalk on the South Oakview Road side, the difference between 12 feet and of what the plan, the official map says, and the Lincoln Highway Streetscape Plan recommends, compared to the current 5 feet, which the applicant has talked about the grass, the trees, and how it might impact the impervious if they would have to take some of that grass or have to rearrange things. So I'd love to hear comments from the board about.
Corey,
about
it's
that.
John. I have a question.
Sure.
In my notes, and I believe in the presentation here, maybe I'm missing something. I thought the official map called for the multimodal pathway to come up the east side of Oakview.
Hutch.
No, it's shown on the plan up the west side of Oakview.
And what would be the challenge of shifting it to the east, Ralph?
I guess you'd have to find a way to cross Oakview Road at some point south of Lincoln Highway. There's a residential development down at the corner, the southeast corner of Oakview and Greenland. There isn't much space available there, although there is an existing sidewalk there. So you'd have to get past that, and then on to the site where the storage facilities are, and then you have a vacant site, currently vacant site, which would be redeveloped at some point in time. But there's a rather large stormwater swale just east of the existing sidewalk with some grading challenges there. So I think that's why it was proposed up the west side.
Okay, so it is proposed for the west side. I thought I saw something that said east side, so I apologize for that, Ralph. Yeah, I guess Corey, the concern is we've got work to do on Lincoln Highway, and then we've got work to do on Oakview to bring a full multimodal set of factors together over the next many years, and trying to work with all the property owners. I'm having a tough time envisioning us trying to get the same exact dimensions of this multimodal pathway everywhere. I think we have been discussing, or we've been looking at some areas where perhaps we're not able to do that everywhere. Is there a way for us to work with that existing green space, the existing sidewalk there, Ralph? Is there some way we can do that on Oakview? Knowing we're going to make a pretty hefty investment on Lincoln Highway, and I don't think we're not pressing anyone on that one right now. But that Oakview, if we could just work with this property owner, I'm just envisioning us tearing up what's there and trying to fill in with basically 17 feet of requirement in what is now 5 feet of sidewalk, and I'm not sure, I think maybe I heard 5 feet of grass or something. So we're looking at another 7 feet of impact here. So just my thoughts, Corey.
Yeah. Okay.
Well,
Dave. Oh yeah, go Hutch, please.
Staff certainly agrees with the applicant that it would be inappropriate, given the improvements that are planned along Lincoln Highway, as well as the scale of this project. It would be inappropriate to ask them to do anything related to their frontage on Lincoln Highway. The township is working on a project. We have obtained funding for the project to create this multimodal path from Strasburg Pike over to Oakview Road. And, we hope to get that under design later this year and hopefully under construction next year. The, conceptual plan, which is the streetscape plan for Lincoln Highway, includes this multi-use pathway, all along this corridor, and this segment, to get from Strasburg Pike at Flory Park over to Oakview and then back up to Lincoln Highway, has to come up Oakview Road. So, the conceptual design has been 5 feet of grass behind the curb and then a 12-foot wide multi-use path. However, there have been locations along the corridor where the pathway has been provided at a slightly more narrow width. And, the boards approve those and conceptually, and as a practical matter, it still works. So, I think if the applicant was willing to, work with us to look at perhaps a lesser width of grass area, as well as a lesser width of the trail, it could likely be, fit into this space that's available, in my opinion.
Thank you. Dave?
There's some discussion about trees, and the plan shows two trees on the south side of the property there. And the aerial view shows those two trees plus a third tree north of that. How many trees actually exist in that location right now?
I apologize. I was just trying to get off mute. There are two trees down near the southern driveway, and then as you get towards the corner, there's actually two more trees. One's a little bit more substantial, then there's a smaller tree. Just the survey, for whatever reason, didn't pick up the two trees. So there's a total of 4 within this stretch, and 3 of the 4 are literally 2 feet off of the right-of-way line. So if we can work from the right-of-way line into within the street right away, I think that would be most advantageous.
Okay. Ethan?
Yeah, I think the comment Ralph made was pretty critical. We have that, I think it's a grant application in or approved or somewhere in process there to connect from Oakview over to Strasburg Pike through Flory Park and then up through the Walmart, which would make a really excellent, would be the actual first bicycle and pedestrian connection over to that area. So you have the potential for a lot more foot traffic into that McDonald's, which I think would be good for business and bike traffic, since we currently don't allow bicycles to drive in our parks on paths. So I think making sure that this path is widened to allow for that is pretty critical to the overall streetscape plan. However, I think depending on what kind of construction there's doing, I'm willing to defer that until we actually get that grant approved to make that connection. Because once that connection is made, I think it's in our best interest to try to make as many connections up to that, because that also then connects north of Route 30. We have an entire housing area up there that could connect down into that. So we have a great multimodal pedestrian and bicycle connection point right through here, which I think is excellent. But I think it hinges on getting that grant and connecting over through Flory Park and Oakview Road.
Okay.
Just to clarify, the smart growth funding was awarded to the township. That is, has been acquired. We have dedicated the match funds that have to go to that. So we're just waiting on the actual grant agreement from the county, which we should have later this year. and then we'll get into design. So this is a project that will happen.
So in that case, it might be beneficial to just have them match whatever width we're trying to make that path. And if that's the full width, I think this is a good time to go ahead and start putting in this other connection.
Yep. Okay. Thank you, Ethan. John, any other comments, or Glenn? I'm sorry, Glenn.
Well, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you. Great.
It sounded like there is some flexibility in the design, especially in that section where the traffic will be a lot slower because of light. I would think the intermodal pathway could be a little closer to the street. Instead of having 5 feet of grass, you can maybe have 2. Seems like there's some flexibility there that we could make it work without impacting their parking and everything else.
Right. Yeah, good point. Okay. Any other board comments about any of the other items, any of the other waivers? Seem pretty straightforward. Frankly, pretty clean letter at this point. Okay. I'm definitely hearing some consensus on wanting something built on the South Oakview Road side. Definitely, we realize, based on those other projects on Lincoln Highway, that we're not asking the applicant for something on that road, but definitely hearing consensus on the Oakview Road side. Any comments or questions from the applicant before I ask for a motion?
So just to clarify, with respect to the width of that, I mean, we'd have to go back and make sure that we're within our scope of our project here on the applicant. But if we could propose something within the right of way that'd be slightly narrower or narrower than the 12-foot ideal, and with some grass between that and Oakview Road, some narrower grass strip between those two, that would be appropriate to respond to what you're looking for here. Is that, am I understanding that correctly? I just want to make sure.
Yeah, I mean, no motion has been made quite yet, but
Right.
Based on the conversation, I expect a motion to say something very similar to what you just stated. So how about we do this? How about I ask for a motion, and then of course I will ask for any other additional board comments or comments from the public, including the applicant, and then we can vote.
Corey, let me try if I can.
Sure.
I'll make the motion that we approve the request with the waivers outlined in the letter. However, I think we need to send the applicant back to staff for a conversation about how the applicant could make our vision for the multimodal pathway work based upon the confines of the location and the applicant's parking issues there. And I think staff should have a voice in that staff is helping to capture our vision of this, but working with the applicant in a way that tries to preserve some of that parking that the applicant has there, and also just to lessen the impact upon what they're going to have to do between the curb and their parking lot.
Sure.
I just for the board's benefit, I think it might be helpful for the applicant to indicate what the distance is between the existing curb along South Oakview Road and the existing parking lot on the east side of your building.
So Mike can give you the exact distances. The issue is less so with the distance between the curb and the parking lot, and more about the idea that if you add additional impervious coverage, we're now going to be over, we're already over, but it's an existing nonconformity. If we were to add additional coverage on our site, we're now being going to be non-compliant with zoning and have to go back to the zoning hearing board for variances, which may or may not be granted. So that's really the more basic concern about doing things on our site. I think within the right of way, there might be a way to work it, but it's having to do something on our site. It's not really the distance to the parking lot.
Well,
And
I guess, and I certainly
Right.
appreciate what you're saying, Mr. Hines. What I wanted to sort of demonstrate for the board is that there's significant, or some, they can decide whether it's significant or not, landscape area between your parking and the right of way. So if landscape area between the pathway and the curb is lost, there's still significant landscaping within your property.
Understood. Thank you. Yeah, Mike, you can give those numbers to them, I think.
Yeah, the distance is approximately 30 to 31 feet from the curb line of South Oakview Road to the interior parking lot curb line on the eastern side of the site.
And it's my understanding, Ralph, it's John again. It's my understanding that in that 30 feet, if we hold the applicant to the plan, to the vision for the multimodal, they got to get a 12-foot wide pathway, and they've got to get a 5-foot wide green space from the curb to the beginning of that pathway, correct?
Right. If the constraint of the stormwater issue, which or the coverage issue, which has been pointed out, if that wasn't an issue, you'd have 17 feet taken up by the trail design behind the curb, and then about 13 feet remaining until you reach their parking lot.
Yeah. Challenge, according to the applicant, what they're presenting is adding that additional impervious to go from a 5-foot to a 12-foot wide pathway. Now enters an entire conversation with zoning about the additional impervious.
And the removal of the existing streets as well, or the trees as well, but
yeah.
Okay, we have a motion from John. Do we have a second?
I want to just clarify the
Sure.
motion first.
Yeah.
John, you're basically, your motion is to condition the approval on David Miller's letter of January 28th, granting the waiver 1, 2, and 4, and 3 would be coming back to staff for further discussion.
Correct.
To meet our vision. Yep.
Yeah, to meet a vision.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think the applicant's concern is just a comment, sorry. The concern is lot coverage, not the amount of space available.
Yeah.
All right. Correct.
Correct.
So no amount of conversation, I don't think can address that.
well, that's not entirely. I think if the conversation is within the right of way between the curb line and the property line, if we can expand the existing pathway within that area, I think that there's a conversation that might be had there. It's really expanding it further to the west onto our site. That's where it becomes problematic. But I think that it was pointed out earlier that there's an additional 5 feet from where the existing sidewalk is to the curb line, that so there's some width of path in there that could be possible. And I think, Mr. Demi, you pointed out earlier that, the timing of this is, when this actually gets done, it could be deferred if that were necessary, but really, our focus really just has to be on what can we actually construct within that area, so that we meet your vision, but we're not affecting issues that then going to throw us back into zoning problems. So I think that there might be something we could work out, but
I don't believe the motion was made to, say exactly if it's on the property or in between, where the current curb and the, I'm sorry, the current pathway and the curb is, the current sidewalk and the curb. So again, I think the motion is to work with staff on our vision and, come up with something that meets both of our needs.
And just to clarify, Corey, yes, I said between the curb and the parking lot,
right?
Because it seems as though there are some potential options there.
Exactly.
To push towards the curb. So.
Yep. Thank you. Okay, so a motion was made. We're not exactly following Robert's rules here, but we are. A motion was made. Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, Dave will second it. Any additional comments from the board first?
I have one quick question.
Sure.
Okay, sorry to belabor the point.
No,
here.
please.
Maybe staff can fill me in. I looked through the minutes of the planning commission. They didn't have any minutes from the meeting that addressed this. I looked through our YouTube channel. That meeting was not on our YouTube channel. And I noted that this was a 4-1 decision of our planning commission. Could you fill me in on some of the discussion that the planning commission, what was the disagreement there among the planning commission members?
I asked the same question. Tara and I both attended that meeting. And after the meeting, I asked Tara that very question, and neither one of us heard the one planning commission member who voted against the motion. He didn't speak to the issue during the discussion at all.
Okay.
That's my recollection as well. I was at that meeting too. I didn't hear any, we were a little confused actually.
Yes, I confirm that as well.
Thank you,
Tara. Okay, so motion was made. Second, comments from the board. Any other comments from the board? Any questions or comments from the public, including the applicant? Okay, I'm going to ask for a roll call vote. Glenn for the motion.
Aye.
Ethan.
Aye.
John.
Aye.
Dave.
Aye.
And chair's aye. Motion passes. Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Okay. Next on the agenda, we have no new business. So we have 8A 2020 East Lampeter Planning Commission Annual Report. Assuming Tara, you're here for that.
Sure can be.
If not, I understand the Planning Commission has to create an annual report each year.
They do every year, and they have to get it to you by March 1st. And so since this is your only meeting in February, here it is. So it basically goes through how many meetings they had, the numbers of plans they reviewed and commented on, as well as conditional uses or rezoning requests, things like that. We noted that there's 2 new members to the Planning Commission in November of last year, and that John Keeler did not seek reappointment as chair. And then what the Planning Commission hopes to accomplish in 2021 will continue with educational opportunities as time permits. We'll make obvious recommendations to the board and on typical business, and then any other issues that the board assigns to the Planning Commission. In addition, we really do want to take a look at the subdivision and land development ordinance and changes to that document.
Great. And it looks like Daryl is now our Planning Commission Chair.
He is, yes.
Yeah, great. Okay, well, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. Like I said at our annual forecast meeting, I appreciate all of our boards, commissions, and different groups that meet on our behalf and recommend things to the Board of Supervisors or make decisions on their own, as a zoning hearing board, as an example. So I appreciate all the time and effort, and the Planning Commission does an excellent job for us on a monthly basis. So do we approve this, accept the plan? Okay, so I'll
Accept it.
Yep.
So moved.
Okay, so moved by Dave, second by John. Okay, any public comment on the Planning Commission annual report? Okay, Glenn,
Aye.
Ethan,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Dave.
Aye.
Aye. Chair, aye. Okay, thank you for that annual report. We have B, resolution to provide 10% credit to all sanitary sewer accounts for 2021. The solicitor put together a resolution for our sanitary sewer service based on the pandemic. I think we all realized we had multiple conversations from business owners, and we looked into a few different options, and the solicitor came back and said we have to make that across the board. We can't, pick and choose who would get that 10% discount. Anything else to add to that, Hutch?
No, this came out of your last discussion.
Okay. Okay. Do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
I'll move that we approve the resolution regarding the 10% credit on sewer bills.
Okay, motion made by Dave,
Second.
second by Glenn. Any public comment or board comment for the resolution? Okay, we'll do a voice vote, roll call vote. Glenn,
Aye.
Ethan,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
and chair is aye. Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda, we have sanitary sewer fees agreement regarding Dutch Wonderland billing corrections.
So I know Mark's also on the call. He helped
Yeah.
to prepare this agreement. This came out of discovery that there were problems with some of the billings that went to Dutch Wonderland, as well as payment consistency, which I think resulted from some of the billing issues that we had. And so we approached Dutch Wonderland and Mark as their representative to resolve the issue. It has been somewhat longstanding for a few years. Well, the issue goes back a few years. And so we hope to resolve it in this way by settling through this agreement and providing for payments to pay the amount that's due. And, we believe it's an appropriate and good agreement. And the solicitor has helped us draft it and would recommend approval.
Okay. Any comments from Mark?
No, I would echo what Ralph has indicated. Been working both with Kevin and Ralph and your solicitor. Biggest issue just from a business perspective is this billing after the fact that couldn't be worked into budgets as we move forward. That was addressed with a lot of discussion back and forth, and the township's willingness to allow us to extend it over the next couple of years for purposes of the agreed to amount. Obviously, that compounded by the pandemic and the effects it's had on the overall operation of Dutch Wonderland. We're very comfortable with where we are, and we have executed a copy of the draft settlement agreement and have already tendered that to Susan Pfeiffer. So she has that in her possession at this time.
Okay, thank you. Okay. We'll accept a motion. I'll accept a motion, then we can ask any further questions or comments.
So moved.
Okay. Was that Ethan or was that Glenn?
I think
That was
Glenn.
Glenn.
Oh, it was Glenn. Wow. Okay. Thanks.
I'm still
Okay.
awake.
Second?
Second.
Yours. Second by Ethan. Thank you. Okay. Motion made by Glenn, second by Ethan. Any other comments from the board? Any comments from the public? Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. Glenn,
Aye.
Ethan,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Dave.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. Okay. Number 9 on the agenda, we have the manager's report.
I didn't really have anything to report this time. I think the major projects that we've been working on, you're all up to speed with.
Okay. Great. I just wanted to thank staff and members of the Board of Supervisors, members of all the boards that I mentioned. I see Dan Tyson from Parks and Randy Patterson from Planning. Appreciate your colleagues and yourselves being available this past Saturday for our annual forecast meeting, our 6th forecast meeting. It was great to hear all the projects that happened last year and all the great things that we're going to do in this upcoming year without raising taxes for another year. So great to spend a few hours on a Saturday morning to hear all the great work, and also our police and our fire, EMS, emergency management coordinators, and all the different partners that we work with, including federal, state, local governments, to make this a great place to live, work, and play. So thank you all for attending. I don't have anything else. I'll if anyone has any other comments. If not, I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved by Dave,
Second.
second by Ethan. Any other public comment for that motion? Okay, voice roll call vote. Glenn,
Aye.
Ethan,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
and chairs aye. Most meeting is adjourned. Thank you.